Hi, everybody. I don't know if we're live.
If you're live, leave a comment. Maybe some technical difficulties.
Oh, we are now live.
No.
Hi, everybody. Welcome
Hi.
to another episode of Digging Deep.
Digging deep. We're back.
We're back in the studio.
In the
It
studio.
is warm today.
It is warm today.
What is the temperature today?
Today, I was looking when I came over here, 26, 27 degrees Celsius, depending where you are, but I was coming through a little valley when I read that, so maybe around 25.
And in the greenhouse, when I left earlier, it was 32.
That doesn't surprise me. It is cooking in there.
It is very cooking. The sides are open as much as
Sides
they
is
can.
open. The greenhouse is full.
Full.
Yes.
It is very, very full. It is the best time of the year.
Yes.
So welcome, everybody. We have a massive prize to give away. It is sitting here. Want to talk about what we're giving away?
Sure. So, do we have a value on what it is? We're gonna estimate probably in the.
If you could add for me, I can tell you.
It's probably in the $250 range, but we have a double blue lilac. We have the wee big grumpy hydrangea, little lime punch hydrangea. We have a spirea back there. We have a heliobore, mother of the bride, and we have a giant miscanthus here.
All right. So the hydrangeas are $50 a piece.
Okay.
The lilac is $50. The heliobore is $40. The grass is $20, and the spirea is $42.
So we're at 252.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's a good prize, and we will ship this out to you tomorrow.
Yes.
We already missed mail for today, so it'll be
Yes.
tomorrow. But yes, some lucky winner is going to win that. We're going to ask a question, and whoever answers correctly first in the comments wins.
Yeah, about 3/4 of the way show. We will drop some very obvious hints of what the answer is, so just make sure you're paying attention.
Oh, happy 2-4 weekend. Is it 2-4 weekend?
I think it is.
But isn't it only the 15th? That's early.
It is. Oh, because it's on Tuesday. It's not on Monday. That's why.
Oh,
Yes.
See, I don't drink anymore, so I'm not up on the 2-4. So my first question is very timely.
Okay.
How long should you let your rhubarb grow before you harvest it?
So you can harvest it at any point, but it's best to let it get about, I usually say 10, 12 inches, and then you can reach in and you can kind of snap the stalk off, and away you go.
All right, and should it be all red? Should it be all white? Does it matter the color?
So the color doesn't necessarily matter because they come in all different colors. You can get white, you can get green, pink, red. Some will have more green, some will have more red, some will be white. It totally depends on the variety or the cultivar that you have.
So both, whether it's red, white.
Doesn't matter if it's 10 inches out of the ground, it's ready to harvest.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there a point that it gets too big to eat?
Yes, so it does get too big. It becomes too woody. A lot of the juices and such at that point wouldn't be in the stalk anymore, where it's really woody. You're basically looking for the perfect window of length times how fresh the tissue is on the plant.
Logan has a good question. He says, any tips to keep rhubarb producing longer?
Producing longer. So when you're harvesting from your rhubarb, don't pick like all of your leaves. Good rule of thumb for a lot of plants, for leafy harvesting plants, like 1/3 to 1/2. Never more than that, and that just lets it keep regrowing through the rest of the summer and then rebounding every season.
Now, when we moved into our house in August, our rhubarb, I thought the whole plant was dead because it was black.
Right.
But I think that's normal.
That's normal. Rhubarb is incredibly hardy.
Yeah.
Incredibly hardy.
So you should leave a portion of the leaves. Don't pick it all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if you want to force rhubarb, you can get like a giant like black tub or anything like an old plant container and just flip it upside down over the leaves. The sun will heat that air up and the plants will shoot up out of the soil, and then when you're ready to harvest it, you take the pot off and you harvest the plants, and you'll have rhubarb like 2 weeks earlier.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think some of our rhubarb is ready. But I don't really like rhubarb.
I love rhubarb. You
I
take a
would
nice
make that
stalk and you like walk around the garden and it's like that nice tart sour.
I'm going to try it. I'm probably going to try it this weekend. But Joyce made that rhubarb simple syrup last year.
It's very good. My mother makes that and it's delicious.
And I want to do that. I just think anything you need to add that much sugar to, maybe I just like the sugar.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
gonna
also
try
like
it.
one of the first like perennial crops you get in the season to start making stuff with too. So I think like people are just excited to make something from the garden.
Even though I don't even really like it. Am I out looking at it every day? Absolutely.
I look at ours every day.
I'm just like really excited.
Yeah.
So it gets too big, harvest it all. Cutting or snapping, what's the best way to harvest?
So I was always brought up by snapping, where you're just like pulling and removing the stalk from the plants. But we found out today that Joyce has always cut hers. So I guess it's preference. I have heard that cutting can cause an open wound that's still attached to the plant, which can be an opening for disease to set in. Again, rhubarb is really, really hardy. It sounds like Joyce hasn't really had a problem with it, so I think it's just really up to Joyce.
Yeah, and what about asparagus? Are we snapping asparagus or are we cutting asparagus?
That you want to cut. Yes.
Yeah.
Usually anything that's a little bit bigger than pencil thickness is a good harvestable spear. And you want to make sure, again, it's not too brown and woody at the bottom when you're eating. I've had a couple, you get those like late season ones from like somewhere else in the country, and like you barbecue them and you're like, it's like chewing on like wet bark basically,
it's
like
chewing.
You can't break it down.
I should really post a picture of, we have this asparagus coming up because we have multiple patches, and it's like as big as a nail.
Yeah.
Like it's so skinny. And I'm like, you're just the cutest little thing. But yeah, it'll be years before we can eat off that one.
Yeah.
All right. So if anyone has any rhubarb recipes, you can always leave the link in the comment.
Yeah, feel free to ask us some questions as well. We're here to talk about everything gardening.
Yeah, ask us questions, and otherwise I'll keep going with the questions that I have here. Should I remove the hay from my strawberries and garlic?
Yes. Yes from the strawberries, no from the garlic. Garlic, it'll just help keep the weeds down, keep some of the moisture in. Yes from the strawberries. So what you do for the strawberries, you pull that into your rows between the berries, and then as the berries produce the fruits, the hopes is that fruit will come out and kind of sit on top of the straw instead of on the soil, and it won't be as dirty.
And what happens if all your birds are eating your strawberries? What should you do?
So you can cover them with some bird netting. So something fun we did at home a couple of years ago is we took some rocks and we painted them red, just like paint you get from the dollar store, with little black dots to replicate strawberries. And like 10 to 14 days before the berries were actually like emerging from the plants, we kind of scattered them throughout the patch. And what happens is the birds come, they poke at a rock. I would assume that doesn't feel very good on a beak if you're poking a hard rock, and they get discouraged and then don't come back because they think everything is hard as a rock.
And did it work out for you?
It did work out. So we didn't have a lot of bird damage. We did have some insect damage, but bird damage was very minimal.
Nice.
Yeah.
Christina says, how do I keep ants out of my planters and pots?
That is a great question. The best thing you can do is raise them up. Sometimes at nurseries, garden centers, you see like they make like a little. They come in like packs of 3 or 4, and they're basically like little blocks, and you can put your planters on top of them. It just raises them up. Basically, you're just getting that drainage hole, a little bit more airspace that's a little bit harder for the ants to get into.
Now, ants and peonies go hand in hand. If you've got ants on your plants, are you worried?
So it depends on the plant. Sometimes they're after some like flower nectar. 1 or 2 here and there is not a big like deal. If you're seeing like trails of them going up and down your plant, there's a good indication that you probably have an aphid infestation.
Yeah.
Fun fact about ants, they farm aphids like we farm cows. They like go up to them and they massage their bellies, and the aphids excrete. Yes. This like weird substance called honeydew. It's very sticky and shiny on the leaves, and they're basically eating and harvesting that.
Every time I see an ant in the greenhouse, I'm always like, what are you doing here?
Yes, 100%. It's like, you're always very like on the watch. You're like, okay, where are you going, what you doing, kind of thing.
Yeah, ants on flowers, less. Ants on your peas, you definitely have aphids.
Yes, 100%.
I don't worry about ants too much. They are pollinators too.
Yeah.
In their own way.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I generally don't have a huge problem with ants. I know some people have problems with them going into their planters and stuff. But yeah, just get them raised up a little bit. They'll be okay.
Yeah, we've been moving, doing some like work around the property, and we were moving some patio stones that were marking garden beds, and like pick them up, and like the family of ants underneath were like, I'm so sorry, but you have to move.
Can we all appreciate too when you're flipping those things up how interesting it is to see the world that's living underneath of them?
A huge world.
Yes.
A huge world. I hope they're okay because we covered it in landscape fabric and mulch.
I'm sure they're fine.
I'm sure they're fine. They can get out.
Yeah. They went from having like 8-foot ceilings to like cathedral ceilings with the mulch, so.
I can't imagine the mulch is heavier than those cement
Yeah,
bricks.
exactly.
Any tips on getting rid of thrips?
Thrips, ooh, that's a good one. Thrips are incredibly hard to get rid of. Not a whole lot of products on the market for them. In the past, people only use neem oil. It's not recommended anymore because it's only used in cosmetics and cooking now. That's not recommended anymore.
And you can get like the beneficial insect
you
packs.
can get so I've seen a couple of places like some gardening groups on Facebook. They'll do like a bulk order from these predator or these beneficial insect companies. where you buy these little sachet, these little pouches of insects, and then you just put them in the plants, and then they're like mites, and they'll come out and do their thing, and they'll handle the bugs. If you don't have that, the other thing you can do, put your plants in the shower, give them a really good rinse with the shower. The good thing about thrips is that they're really, really poor flyers, so if they are flying around, or if they are in the plants, they're knocked off very easily. They're not good at moving around. What I do in the summertime too is move a lot of my house plants outside, and that kind of generally takes care of them for the season. They might rebound a little bit through the wintertime, but generally putting them outside, it kind of takes care of it.
Yeah, there's a lot more beneficial insects outside that'll eat them. Plus there's wind and rain. They're not very strong.
Yeah.
It's usually something that's going to bother your indoor plants or your greenhouse plants more than your outside. But like strong blast with the hose, a nice windy day, insecticidal soap can help.
Maybe you could like take your plant outside and do like the cool thing, like spin in a circle with it like this, and hopefully you spinning in a circle is enough wind for them to fall off.
And thrips are almost always in the bottom, so if you can, you'd want to like hold it more upside down and spray, because they're going to be underneath the leaves.
I have heard some people also like top dressing the top of their pots with like sand that stays a little bit more dry than the soil, and then when they lay their eggs or when the pupae hatch on the leaves and then go down into the soil, they hit sand, it's dry, they usually end up dying. I haven't tried that, but it sounds like very, very messy. I'm just not sure if it'll work, but I have heard of people using that as well.
Yeah, and I've heard people put like cinnamon on their soil to stop fungus gnats.
Yeah.
Let's see. My hostas are too big. Is there a point that they are too big to split? Mine have leafed out. Is it too late?
No, you can split them whenever, and really like every 3 to 4 years you could split your hostas. Hostas, again, are very hardy, so like if you have a 3 to 4 year old hosta, you could easily split that into 3 or 4 pieces.
Yeah.
Spread them around your property, compost the other ones, it's up to you.
We were driving to town yesterday. There was a guy with a box at the end of his driveway. It said free hostas. Share them with your neighbors, give them to a gardening group. There's always people who want hostas.
There's always people who want hostas.
Hostas are great. Have you cooked the hostas yet? I know you ate one raw last year.
I ate one raw last spring. It tasted like green. It didn't really taste like anything. And obviously I'm still here, so like I wouldn't recommend anyone to go out and do that, but I'm just saying I did do it. It was very uneventful.
Did you see like Chef Iona Daniels cooking with Japanese knotweed shoots?
I didn't, but that's amazing.
It's a good way to use an invasive species, but like
yeah, don't go planting Japanese knotweed, just harvest it and eat it. Don't recommend that.
Do not put it in your garden. Absolutely not. All right, if you guys have questions, ask us away. We've got questions here, but we'd love to know what you guys are doing. If you have comments, anything at all. I'm new to raspberries, and it looks like some of my canes are dead. What did I do wrong?
So some of them look like they're dead. Those are probably the 2-year canes, and they're ready to come off the plants. Most raspberries are separated into 2 groups. You have everbearing, and then you have like the other like more typical kind, which flower on 2nd-year wood. If you're seeing dead canes, that's more than likely the 2-year wood that was producing berries last year and is no longer growing this year, so you can just cut those off.
Yeah. And new ones will come up.
Yep, new ones will come up. The new ones will come up and they'll produce their green this year, and then next year you'll leave them, and then next year you'll have berries on those ones.
Yeah, and I am covered in scratches because I've been cleaning up my raspberries.
Yes, you have a raspberry patch with a capital R.
Yeah, it's gigantic and it's amazing. It's been so much work. I've kind of been posting about it. I am posting a video. I don't know when it's airing. I just scheduled a bunch of things about cleaning up my grapes. That's been a time. But yeah, I am covered in bruises and scratches. Working on my tan.
Yes, working on that farmer's tan.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, raspberries are so easy.
Yeah.
And you're getting the orange ones, right? Or
yeah, so we're going to get the Ann, and there's also a purple one that the name is escaping me that we also carry.
Nova?
It could be. I believe you're right.
I think we have Ann, Nova, something else. Yeah. I can't remember everything.
Yeah.
All right. If you have something, I have something like burning bush and forsythia. How do I keep them in check?
So the best way to keep them in check, cultivate under the trees when you see them, when they're dropping their seeds. Coming up in the spring, you'll see the seedlings come up. Just cultivate them, pull them out by hand. Forsythia, you're cutting off branches. You're cutting off any that are spreading underground, anything like that.
Yeah.
Just do like a once over like mid-spring. Usually a good time to check most things before it's like fully into the growing season, but also like it still has enough growth out you can see what's kind of happening.
Yeah, we've got 2 new guys with us this year in trials, and I was showing them as we were doing some work how a branch of the forsythia just laid down and touched soil, and then it put out a new tree. It had big, thick stems coming out of it, and I'm like, this one branch touching the ground did this.
Talking about roots, did you bring your surprise with you today?
I didn't bring my vetch. No one thought it was as exciting as me.
I thought it was kind of cool. Tara had meticulously harvested a whole vetch plant and all of the rhizomes and roots that go with it. This thing was like this long, had little green pieces poking out, all the roots and everything. I don't know how you did it. I wasn't there, but like I was pretty amazed when I saw it.
I posted a picture of it. I was so excited, and like I showed a few people, and I was like, they thought it was weird, but I was like, this is so important because you never see, like, you pull the vetch or devil's toothbrush or whatever you want to call it. You see a weed, you pull the top, and then it comes right back, and it really showed why it comes right back.
Because there's that little rhizome just under the soil surface where it just keeps popping up all over the place.
And it just keeps popping up, and like that one piece had put out like 20 new plants, and I mean, you could pull 20 of the individuals that you could find, but that main stem is just there pushing out more.
Yeah.
If only like strawberries grew.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't
that be nice? Strawberries, yeah.
All the things. I was so impressed. I was like, this is so cool. But Scott, one of the new guys, he was getting really excited when he was pulling out dandelions and getting like a good tap.
Okay, that's really satisfying, especially when, like, I don't know about everyone else, but like when I'm weeding dandelions, I'm like pulling it right out and I'm like flipping it right around. I'm looking at the other end where the tap root ends to see if it's snapped off, and like you get those ones that don't snap off and you're like, it's a good day. It's
a good day. Like getting the whole tap root of that or a dock, like so satisfying.
Yes.
All right. Logan says, there are different instructions for pruning different hydrangeas. How do I know what kind of hydrangea I have at my new home?
Right. So there's 2 different kinds. There's the like a true shrub hydrangea, and then there's ones that die back or a perennial one every year. So basically just give it a full season, and then come spring, if everything, if you see the new growth emerging from the soil, then you know you have the perennial hydrangea, and you can remove all of that dead that's already there. And then any of the shrub hydrangeas, you can just let those go, let them leaf out. If you see some broken or dead branches, then you can clip those out.
Yeah, and I did post a video last year about pruning hydrangeas. I think it's been posted on Facebook. We'll see if we can't find that video and link it, because it's a really good visual of where to make your cuts and what to remove. You can leave it and once it leaves out, but you want to be watching. It's a little early yet because they haven't quite fully budded to know if that branch is going to put out flowers. At
least for us here in PEI. It's still early yet. If you're like southern Nova Scotia, maybe southwestern New Brunswick, maybe it's a little bit warmer.
Yeah, so you want to make sure that you're leaving the buds. It is royalty raspberry.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah. Good afternoon. From the up potting station, distance between raspberry plants and rows.
That's a good one. I guess it kind of depends on what kind of roses we have.
Oh, no. Raspberry plants and rows, distance between them. How would you plant your raspberries?
Oh, I'm sorry. So I would plant them, at least a couple feet minimum, if not more. If you have like a climbing rose, they can get pretty out of control quickly if not kept in check. Raspberries will also like climb out and grow away as well.
I never said rose. It's rose.
I'm sorry.
So sorry.
I'm sorry. Third time's a charm. Rose. ROWS. I'm sorry. Raspberry rose. We're there now. Okay. We're there. Yeah, I would say like 3-4 feet minimum.
Yeah. And I was talking about raspberries with my coworker Rob today, and he was saying that how he planted 2 rows, and I think they're like 6 feet apart. And he said that one put out a shoot like 4 feet into his lawn.
Yeah. Yeah, we have them like we have like a little like border garden with all of our raspberries, and then our garden fence, and then on the other side is our vegetable garden. They're just going to town into the vegetable garden. Yeah,
I need to go to a raspberry farm because mine were just planted everywhere, and I have like a million canes, and there's really no pathways through it. It's been left to overgrow and take over, so we've got all these raspberries, but half of them you can't get to because they're surrounded by other raspberries and they bite.
Oh yeah, some of them like have a good bite on them.
Yeah. So there'd be distance, but you'd have to be mowing them as they're putting up new shoots to keep them in check, like I think commercial farmers do.
Yeah.
And I know that commercial farmers, they mow them every few years and let them rest completely.
Yeah. 3-4 feet. You could probably go farther apart than that as well. I'm just doing it. This is like a backyard gardener. You might not have a raspberry patch like Tara, where it's a little bit smaller. You might have a push mower you can mow in between them. Certainly if you have more than that, then you would want them further apart so it's easier to get up and down the rows with like a ride-on or something.
Yeah, and you want to be able to make sure you can pick all of them because it's going to be really sad this summer when there's berries I can't reach. And I'm like, do I want to get scratched for one berry?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
The answer is yes. I have an Ann Magnolia tree. Oh, I bet it's so beautiful. And it never leafed out this year at all. Is there any way to help it out?
Ooh, this past season or this season coming?
I think she got it from us last year, and right now it's not leafing out.
Okay.
And I think Heather is on PEI.
Okay. It might still be just like a little bit early. Stuff is just starting to break dormancy now. I know magnolias always send out their flowers first, and then the greens come later. So maybe just keep an eye on it for the next week or two, especially today. Today will really push things along, so see what it looks like maybe in the next few days, and then just let us know.
Yeah, magnolias are cool, like the forsythia, that they push out the flowers before they push out leaves.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. I hope so. You can always do like a scratch test on a branch.
That's a good idea
some
too.
Green.
I like the scratch test. Yeah, just like a little scratch with your fingernail, not hard. You just want to take off that like little bit of bark on the outside. If you see green, it's great. It means it's alive. If you see not green, then that branch is dead or that section is dead, and then you might have to go around the plant doing that some other places to see what's alive and what's dead.
Yeah. Right. Courtney asks, what is the best placement to plant a blueberry bush? Full sun or part shade?
Full sun. Give that baby full sun.
Yeah, I'm going to plant 8 blueberry bushes soon, and I'm going to put some distance between them. Probably like 8 feet between the rows, and like 3 to 4 feet between each plant, because they get quite big.
They do. They'll fill in quite a bit.
Yeah.
Full sun being 8+ hours a day, whatever works for you. And like you're always spacing your shrubs and plants for how big they're going to be, not for the size they are now.
Yeah. So when you get it and you see that it's small, don't worry, it's going to get big.
One thing that grinds my gears type of thing is like when you're driving and they've just like installed a nice like hedge of trees and they're like 2 feet apart from each other, and you're like, in like 5 to 10 years, like they're going to be growing into each other another 15 years and they're going to be dead basically.
Yeah. Blueberries love acidic soil. I can't wait to get mine planted. I can't wait to eat them.
Blueberries are one of my favorite things to eat.
Yeah. I'm a little sad that we don't have blueberries at work right now.
I know.
It's all right though.
Maybe someday we'll bring them back again.
Oh, she posted the hydrangea pruning video. That's awesome. Good find. I hear you on the raspberry nightmare. I have thinning out to do. It's so much work. It is so much work. The West Prince Chamber of Commerce.
Oh.
Riley says, are there any specific seed varieties that are particularly well suited for container gardening?
Yeah, so we do have a couple, flowers and vegetables. Vegetables, we have one called like Mini Munch. We have a couple of tomatoes. We have the little Birdie series tomatoes, which is like a 6 to 8 inch container, perfect for that.
Sweetie mix.
We have the Sweetie mix peppers as well. Another like pepper that gets like 12 inches tall. You get little sweet snack-sized peppers. They're very, very fun. We have the Cherry Falls tomato. It gets a little bit bigger, but it's good for a hanging pot. So if you have some hanging pots, it's good for that. Flowers. We have our new Vinca. That does really, really well in the container for us.
And they're fast too.
They're very fast, yeah. Very drought tolerant as well. So you don't have to like worry about watering them every day. Really, any short flowers will work in a container as well.
Yeah, I grew everything in containers. Like if you want to put a carrot in a container, you can.
Yeah.
Onions, they just take a little bit more water.
Yeah, especially as they start to mature and get near or getting close to harvest time.
Right, we are caught up on those. Ask more questions. We love questions. We love questions or comments on the page. Is it too early to plant out my perennials?
Too early? No. Especially if you're getting them from us, they're still semi-dormant, where the buds have they're showing but they're not fully opened. It's maybe a little bit of hardening off, but you could certainly plant that out. Now we do have some things that are like this, which is our double play doozy spirea. This is too early to put out because it is just in full growth basically. For us here, we would wait at least another 2 weeks before we would think about putting this out. And then also we would harden it off for 3 to 5 days before doing so as well.
Something I like to think of, this lilac, our lilacs are just starting to bud out on the property.
Yeah.
And so, if you think about, are the lilacs out yet? Even just it with leaves. And if the answer is no, then it's just a little early for this.
Yeah.
And you would just keep it indoors. Keep it well watered.
And even the cedars we have here as well, because cedars don't drop their green in the wintertime. But even these have a lot of new growth on them, whereas a lot of the native cedars here only have just the teeny tiny bit on them starting to show. So even these, it would be another couple of weeks and then hardening them off again.
And that's just for us here. I mean, different parts of Canada are probably BC.
Oh, coastal BC, absolutely could probably go for it. I don't know much about coastal BC, but I know it very rarely drops below freezing there. Southwestern Nova Scotia, they're probably getting close to their last frost day as well. So
yeah, we usually wait until after the first full moon in June.
Mm-hmm.
It's just island lore. We do it. It says about May 26th.
Yeah, usually about May 31st we have a 10% chance of frost after that, but it's the weather, it can change. So
we got frost in June a couple of years ago, and the very next day was a heat wave.
Yeah.
Island weather is amazing, and we have wind gusts to 80 all the time.
Yes.
It was crazy windy yesterday.
It was crazy windy yesterday.
So is it too early to plant out peppers and tomatoes?
Peppers and tomatoes, yes. If you're doing brassicas, onions, any root crops, you could plant a lot of those right now. But yeah, any of your cucurbits, pumpkins, melons, that sort of thing, peppers, tomatoes, eggplants, too early yet.
So we can do lettuce?
Yep, you could do leaf lettuces, not head lettuce yet. Head lettuce needs a little more heat. They're not as tolerant to any cold weather, but certainly some leaf lettuces you could put out now.
And what's the difference between a leaf lettuce and a head lettuce?
So a leaf lettuce, I would call an oak leaf lettuce, or a black-seeded Simpson, for example. Whereas Valley Heart, which is a romaine, or Eucaipa, which is an iceberg, I would consider those head lettuces because you're harvesting the whole head at once, basically. Mm-hmm. And whereas a leaf lettuce is generally you're just picking a few here and there to use.
Do you consider romaine a head lettuce or a leaf lettuce?
So you could pick it as you would a leaf lettuce, but I would still count it as a head lettuce because typically most people, when they think of romaine, they're thinking of the whole heart that you harvest at once.
Right.
Yeah.
And what are we waiting for soil temperature for any of these things?
Yeah, so a lot of things. So corn in the 18 degrees Celsius, which was today, hobo, hint, weather station, hint, hobo, making it obvious, has been saying it's been about 19 degrees Celsius at about 3 inches into the soil today.
Yeah.
So if we had consistent days like this coming up, it would be the perfect time to plant your corn, but we know it's still a couple weeks too early yet, or maybe even a week too early yet to put your corn in. We're still going to get some cool weather. That temperature is going to drop back down again. So,
all right. So, explain what Hobo is.
So, Hobo is our on-site weather station. It records weather data for us, rain amount, air temperature, soil temperature at 3 inches. It does average wind speed, wind gust. Is there anything else that I'm missing?
I think that's it. It's just solar radiation.
That's solar radiation, but that's just so it charges itself. So yeah, we have it on site. It's part of our trial program. So when we're trialing these things in the fall, we'll export all of that weather data, and we'll send that along with any of the observations we made from trials back to breeders, so they kind of know what was happening weather-wise when they were seeing some of these results.
I really like Hobo because sometimes when it rains, we think we got a lot, but Hobo was no, we actually didn't get a lot of rain.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes you're oh, it rained yesterday, and then you look at Hobo, and Hobo's you guys got 7.5 mils. That was nothing.
I check Hobo when I'm at home and it's the weekend, and I'm how much rain was that?
Yeah. I like to check Hobo, and I like to check the weather station at the Charlottetown airport because they're so close together to see how much they're off by. And they're usually pretty close to each other, so.
Yeah. The only thing it really doesn't do is snow.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
But we check it all the time. It's really crucial for us. It really helps us out, especially for like wind speed, for applying pesticides. If
that's a really good one too. Like sometimes you're like right on that brink. If it's too windy, if you can be applying some things. So like usually just give Hobo a quick check and it'll say, if it's gusting to like 15, 20, it might be a little too windy to be applying anything.
Jennifer says, do you soak corn seeds prior to planting? I always have issues with corn. Packs have disappeared.
So we don't soak our corn. Generally, we try to line up most of our direct seeding with when rain is going to be in the forecast.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. We've planted stuff in the past, like, all right, let's get this in. We got 2 days, then we're getting like 5 days of rain. And then 2 days later, the weather changes, like it's not raining anymore.
Nope.
And then you usually end up getting bad germination. So no, we don't pre-soak any of our corn seeds. We try to line it up with whenever rain's going to happen. If it was at home, I would just go with like a watering can or your hose, rain barrel, anything like that, and I would just water the seeds then.
Yeah, last year we planted our corn and it was cold because it was going to rain, and we timed it up. But I have noticed that like birds love to come in behind and eat the corn.
Yes.
So it might not necessarily be poor germination; it'd be like thieves.
Yes. The birds get very smart. If anyone lives in a farming community, if you see tractors out working the field, you usually see seagulls, crows, or other foraging birds following them behind the freshly tilled ground, getting the worms and all the insects.
Oh my God. I remember being a kid and being in my dad's tractor and we were plowing and he was like, look around, do you see any seagulls? And it was like, no. And as soon as he like flips over the first bit of soil, they're there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't even know where they came from.
Yeah, they come out of the woodwork. They hear the tractor and they come out of the woodwork.
Yeah. But yeah, we had corn. The crows normally leave our corn alone. They like to pull our onion sets.
Yeah, which is just as annoying, if not more annoying.
We call them Bob. Every crow is Bob, and
Yeah.
we're like, leave it alone, Bob.
Yeah.
Yell from across the field. People probably think we're crazy. Maybe we are.
That's all right. I think there's a little bit of crazy in some of the gardening things, so
Yeah. Well, it was a good day today when Scott pulled out the dandelion and he was impressed with the root, and I was like, you're a plant person.
Yes, 100%.
Nicole asks, first time with strawberry pips, do I need to cut back any of the leaves to promote growth?
To promote growth, no, but it's a good idea to promote or cut the leaves off after your harvest. After like 2 or 3 years when you get your first harvest, it's a good idea to mow the plants. It goes against like everything in my body, and like my body's like, don't do it. You're driving a mower over your precious strawberry plants, but just set the deck as high as it'll go, mow, and then what that's doing is it's mulching all of the old leaves, and it's making room for the new leaves. But by mulching the old leaves, it's also discouraging any disease to set into the plants as well.
Do you recommend harvesting off your strawberry plants, like the ones that we sell, just the pips? Would you, if they flower, would you let them flower the first year?
No, if I took them home and I planted them and they were flowering, I would pick those flowers off. Again, really hard to do.
It is.
But in the long run, it's really beneficial to the plants. It takes so much energy and nutrients and resources for plants to flower and reproduce that picking off those 3 strawberries you're going to get this year might turn into like 20 or 25 strawberries next year because the plant has more energy into the root, into the crown.
Yeah, and you're planting them as like an investment. This is going to be a strawberry bed that we do for years. So like waiting 1 year, I'm about to plant strawberries too.
That's actually a great idea. Like picking off those early flowers would be equivalent to being like, no, let it ride. Like, let it just keep reinvesting basically.
Yeah. Because it's going to make the plant. You want the plant to put out roots, get established, grow a nice crown, and then it'll feed you for years. But I recommend picking off those flowers, and it's difficult.
It is very difficult. And that goes not for like strawberries, but like we do it for our petunias when they're really small too. A lot of other flowers, while they're still small and in their cells before we put them in their containers or in the beds, we're picking off those early flowers just to make sure their plants are nice and robust before they go outside.
I posted that yesterday. Like the most shocking thing you'll see is that I do it almost daily. I pick off all the blooms I see. But we're not a commercial greenhouse. We're not trying to entice people with the flowers.
Yeah.
We want the biggest and bestest plants.
Yes.
So if you want them to be happier outside, pick off the blooms until you plant them.
Yeah.
And it's weird, but
like in the long run, it's very, very beneficial.
Kirk says, is it a good practice to bend over onion tops to make larger onions?
To make larger onions, no. But what we do is we give our onions haircuts. 6 to 8 inches above the bulb, or right where the stem reaches the soil. We're trimming off all that green. Again, it's kind of the same idea as picking off the flowers. Having less green means less water and less resources going to more of the foliage and more going back into the root, into the bulb.
Yeah, and what was I say? It moved. I heard someone say last year that right before they wanted to harvest all of their onions, they snapped all of their necks instead of waiting for them to die back naturally.
Right.
What do you think of that?
So I know some people do that. We like to do it the natural way. That way we know the onions are done, they're ready to go, they're ready to start, going dormant for the winter and start going dormant for storage.
Yeah, they had trouble storing their onions, and I was like, well, they probably weren't ready.
Yeah.
And they probably still had too much moisture, and then maybe they didn't get cured enough.
Yeah.
I'd never heard that, and it kind of like surprised me.
Usually about like 2/3 to 3/4 of like the variety or the crop, we wait until their necks naturally fall over, and then we go in and harvest.
I'm excited for onion season this year.
Yes, me too.
As long as the crows aren't around.
No bobs.
No bobs. We're going to have to put the scare eye balloons out before we plant them.
Yes, that's a good idea.
And get ready. Maybe some of that bird tape.
Yes, we can do that too.
How do you know when your soil is warm enough to plant?
How do you know when your soil is warm enough to plant? Usually by touch. Generally when it's really hot, like on days like today. Today I said it was around 25, 27. Our soil is reporting 18, 19 degrees. So it depends on if the sun's out, what the air temperature is. Keep in mind what time of month it is. I know we get like days like today where it's like earliest summer, but like we still know there's going to be mid to low teen days coming afterwards.
Yeah.
So just use your best judgment, but typically speaking, if you're going to have a few days of like this lined up all in a row, then you're probably good to plant a lot of things.
Diana says, best advice for lilacs. I have a shrub about 3 feet that hasn't bloomed.
Might be too much nitrogen. That's always my first thoughts, especially a lot of shrubs are planted like in the middle of lawns, and a lot of people fertilize their lawns, and lawn fertilizer is really, really high in nitrogen. Makes your grass look really good. It might make the lilac look really good and nice and dark and green, but it basically stops the plant from flowering. When conditions get too good for plants, they stop reproducing because living's just so good going, Plants need like a stressor, like a cold snap, decrease in light, decrease in water for them to be able to flower usually. If you're fertilizing your lawn, just be wary of where the fertilizer is going. If you're using like a shrub fertilizer, just be wary of how much you're using, especially in conjunction with like compost and manure. Usually one or the other, or one and then just a teeny tiny bit of the other.
Now, 3 feet tall. That's not very big for a lilac.
Nope.
Would you expect this lilac to bloom this year?
This year? If it does, I wouldn't be surprised, but my expectations are for it not to bloom this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it should bloom the second year, but not quite as much.
Yeah.
And it could just be in the wrong soil, too much nitrogen.
It could be like, you could be looking at like light conditions as well. Lilacs, full sun, 8 to 10 hours plus a day of sunlight. Maybe it's getting like 7 hours, not quite enough to make it flower. It could be a number of different environmental
She said she's not using fertilizer on her lawn.
Okay.
Is it getting full sun?
Yeah, that would be my next thing. How much light is it getting?
These plants are beautiful.
They are.
We'll wait for Diana to answer.
Sure.
Look at this hellebore. Oh, it's so pretty.
Hellebore is very underrated.
They're beautiful. And ours in front of the store has been blooming for almost a month.
Mine at home has been blooming for about 2.5, 3 weeks now.
Yeah, I could look on my phone and find the best, like the first picture when I saw it. And it just, it's not letting go.
No.
It is getting full sun.
Okay, that's very interesting. Send us an email to customer service. Provide as much environmental detail like how much sun, water requirements, a couple photos of the plant as well.